Oh,
So you're actually a teacher. It says
yes,
here you're a teacher at Talcott Mountain Academy, which we know of. We've heard from Lydia earlier today. And for
yes,
the past 8 years, you've been a mentor for students competing in the Connecticut Invention Convention. You have 6 students go on to the National Invention Convention. Wow. And you're a parent of 2 serial inventors who have competed in both the Connecticut and the National Invention Convention. And you served as a judge on both of these events.
yes.
Yeah, you don't
So
have
I've
any
kind of,
spare, you have no spare time, do you?
yeah, I've kind of covered the whole invention convention thing.
And your title of your presentation is The Importance and Joy and Honor of Mentoring Young Inventors. One person's perspective on being a teacher, a parent, and a judge to today's young inventors. You've done it all. We're very interested to hearing what you have to share with us.
Well, hopefully, I'm going to share my screen. I hope that I can make this work. Okay, so just one moment. Okay, so that should be up and running. Can you, yeah, you can see it on your end?
Yes,
Great.
absolutely.
Okay, so I'll skip right through the first screen because you already read the title, which was kind of a long title. I probably should have shortened it. So thank you for having me tonight. It's so nice to be here. And you've basically covered my background, so that's great. I really don't need to add much, other than I will say that prior to joining Talcott Mountain Academy, I had never heard of Invention Convention. So 8 years ago, I didn't even know what this was. And then over the years, you know, I kind of got thrown in at the deep end, first year teaching, and was told, right, come November, every Wednesday afternoon we cancel classes and you're mentoring your students in Invention Convention, and that'll go all the way through February. So, you know, sort of daunting at first, but 8 years down the road now, you know, I've pretty much got a handle on it. And I have to say, over the years, I really realized how much of an effect Invention Convention had on these young children. So I finally got brave enough where I said, okay, I'll volunteer to be a judge. So I judged at the Connecticut Invention Convention, and then for the past 3 years, the Nationals. So it's been quite an interesting experience. So I want to talk about the different roles for Invention Convention. And the first role I want to talk about is the role of a teacher as a mentor. And I have 3 words here: to encourage, inspire, and guide. And what I want you to notice, the word encourage is first. And that's going to be the same for all of my slides, because in my mind, the cornerstone of being a mentor, whether we're a teacher, a judge, or a parent, is to encourage these young people. Because really what we need is more young children or more young people who are able to think creatively, think outside of the box, and to believe in themselves, believe in their ideas, and to be able to say, yeah, I can do it. And so as a teacher, you have that opportunity. You're probably their first mentor right at the get-go. You're the one saying, hey, we're going to do an invention this year. So it's your opportunity to have those students think creatively and encourage them to believe in themselves. The second area that the second role of a teacher is to inspire. And that's slightly different to encourage, because I'm really focusing on inspiring them to persevere. Now, I've heard a lot of people today mention Edison. He is really obviously the quintessential go-to inspirational inventor, and not just because, you know, he has that wonderful quote about the light bulb, but also he has a really optimistic personality, and I love to impart that to my students. So every year I have my students read Who Was Thomas Alva Edison, which is one of the great Who Was books. And in that, they learn so much about how he was an optimistic person and he was able to persevere when things didn't go his way. And I really try and get my students to understand that you have 2 choices when something doesn't work out. You can either say, oh no, you know, I give up, my prototype blew up, it fell apart or whatever. Or you can stop and say, hey, this is a learning opportunity. Why did my prototype not work? and then look at the materials, maybe work out what went wrong, take a box saying, okay, plastic didn't work for this, we'll try a different material. So to inspire your students. The final role of a teacher is to guide, and hopefully my slide will move along. Oh, oops, hold on. It just, there we go. This is a really daunting process for many students to do the whole invention process. Even serial inventors get a little daunted at the beginning of each invention season. So as teachers, it's really important for us to give clear examples and instructions so that our students know what is expected of them, and break everything down into bite-sized portions so that they know this week I'm just responsible for this, next week I'm responsible for that. Just make it as easy as possible so that, again, you're going back to that encouraging. If you guide them well, they'll be encouraged to continue. The next role I want to talk about is the role of a judge. And in some ways, this is the most powerful role. And the words I have under there are encourage, engage, and inform. And again, encouragement comes first. I learned this early on in this whole experience. When a judge is walking around those competition halls with their judge badge on, wow, that's an important thing. The kids come running back to me, my own students and my own children, saying, a judge just came and visited my board and said my invention was good. And that is amazing. Just those few words that judge has said is just huge, huge encouragement. So when I'm a judge, I make sure to get there early to the competitions and walk around the hall as much as I can, stop and talk to as many students as I can, and be an attentive listener and to show interest in the student's invention. And even if it's only a couple of words I say to them, I know they're going to take that and say, oh, a judge just talked to me and liked my project. So it's a really powerful role that you play. The second role of a judge, hopefully my slide will move along in just a moment, is to engage. Let's see if it, okay, oops. Okay. Again, through going through many years of going to the competitions, I've noticed that there's two different types of judging circles going on. And some competitions, or in some judging circles, everyone's standing up and they're fidgeting, nobody's focused. And then there are other judging circles where everyone's seated, they're calm, they're focused. So another role for you is to engage your judging circle. Therefore, you're bringing all the students in to make them be part of it. I also encourage all the students in my judging circle to ask other inventors questions after they've finished presenting, which brings it back to engaging all of the students. The final role of the judge is to inform. And this is an interesting one because this may be the first feedback the students are getting other than from their parent or teacher. So this is the first time they may get some honest, constructive feedback. So what I try to do, give positive feedback first, then give the constructive feedback, and then obviously end with a nice positive comment. But that constructive feedback is so important because especially if it's early in the competition phase, like maybe it's the school competition. As a judge, if you notice something that you say, hey, you know, have you thought of adding this? Have you thought of changing that? Or maybe, I notice there's a little problem with this. Have you thought of how you could fix that? You may really help that inventor move their invention many, many steps forward. So again, the role of the judge is to inform. The final area I want to talk about is the role of a parent. Encourage, support, respect. So again, beginning with that encouragement. So with the role of a parent, you're encouraging your students throughout the entire inventing process because you are with that inventor day and night, ups and downs through the whole thing. So it can be kind of a wild ride and you need to just be there with your child. You're basically their cheerleading section. You're there throughout the process to say, you can do this. I believe in you. You're a great inventor. You're going to be able to talk in front of the judges. You're going to be able to present your project. Your project's going to be great. And you're on that ride together and you take that ride and It's going to be great as long as you, the parent, are there encouraging. The next role of the parent is to support. And what I mean by this is literally you're the pit crew. Because even though most inventions may start at school, nearly every invention ends up at home. However much we try and avoid that, it happens. So you need to be there with everything ready. You got your glue sticks ready, your duct tape, you've got the glue gun, you've got the things that go in the glue gun because you don't want to run out at 11 o'clock at night, the night before invention convention. You may need your drill, fill your printer full of ink, have a couple of extra boards. So you're literally the pit crew back behind your students, helping them with all their support. The final role of a parent is respect. This is an interesting two-edged thing. Firstly, respect your child's invention. Even if you think, oh my gosh, it looks crazy, it looks foolish, it looks childish, you have to respect that this is your child's invention. Secondly, respect again, it is their invention. Parents, we have a tendency to slightly hijack our child's projects. And I see this year in and year out at school, in the conventions, and even at home. You see your child's invention, you think, if I just tighten this screw, if I just straighten that piece on the board, and we have to really remember, we're undermining our students and our children if we do that. We have to respect them and encourage them. And that brings me to my final thought on the process, which is, if we can look back on the inventing process, if the inventor can look back and say, I can do this, I am an inventor, then we as teachers have succeeded, pardon me, we as teachers, judges, and parents have succeeded in our role as mentors. We have actually brought them through the process to the point where they feel like, I can do this. And that's important for the world, because the more young people we encourage, the more chance we have that one of these young inventors is going to do something that's going to change our world forever. So that's, in a nutshell, being a mentor of all those different roles.
Wow. Lavinia, I have been involved in this program for over 35 years, and you really gave an incredible presentation.
Oh, thank you. Tried to put it all in 10 minutes.
No, it's excellent. I want to tell you, we're recording this, and this segment, all the segments are going to be up on YouTube, and I'm going to be pushing everybody on the planet to watch this, because you really have encapsulated everything that's important and everything that needs to be done in the way it needs to be done. So congratulations.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being involved in Invention Convention for so long. I've seen you on and off, in the distance for years, at different conventions and so forth. And, it's people like you that inspire other people to get involved, because for the first 5 years, I didn't get involved other than being a teacher. And then I finally thought, I see people year in and year out giving their time. And I thought, well, I should do this too. So, thank you for inspiring all of us.
So let me just ask you a question, and doing
Sure.
this from the parents' point of view.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. It is really hard for parents not to hijack the invention. And I'm sure we can trade stories about disasters that I have seen over and over again.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? It's your child. You love that child. You want them to do well. You don't want them to cry when they don't do well. How do you not hijack the process?
There's a few things. It's a give and take. And over the years, I have hijacked my children's projects less as they get older. And I am learning more as well. This is a learning process for us as parents too. But, if you've got a kindergartner or first grader, you have to help them, obviously. It's a learning process. And with my students, we do the board together in class. I have them do every step of building the board in class so that they know exactly how to build a board. And I help them to glue it and so forth, because at that young age, they need that help. But each year as they get older, you have to step back that little bit more and say, okay, this year you can maybe glue your own board, or this year maybe you can start using some of the tools. And for example, when my children were younger, my husband had to help them with like the power tools. But in the last few years, they've basically been down there in the basement with the safety glasses on, with the drill and whatever. So, it's just a balancing act, and it's really, really difficult. And I'm speaking as a parent now. It's super hard not to hijack your child's invention. But, I'm in the judging process at the moment of the Connecticut Invention Convention. And there's a few inventions where I think, oh, gee, you need to step back a bit, let your kid fly.
Yeah.
Like that picture I showed of Calvin and Hobbes, you kind of have to let them go for it.
Well, Lavinia, thank you very much for sharing this with us. We have another event coming up on July 9th, and I'm going to invite you back because I have a feeling, no, I have a feeling you have just touched the tip of the iceberg, and there's a lot more you'd like to share with us and tell us. So please come back and re-register. But
thank you so much for having me.